What myth is still widely circulated as truth? That you have to wait 24 hours before you can report a missing person. If someone is missing, go get help. If an HIV positive person has sex with another HIV positive person, they don't have to worry about protection. They do, because there are 140 different strains of the HIV/AIDS virus, and getting infected with another strain, especially a potentially deadlier one, could be dangerous. Also, pregnancy is still a very big risk for HIV positive women. If you are considering an XL relationship, get tested and talk to your doctor about birth control. People in general thought the world was flat until Columbus sailed the ocean blue. No, the ancient world figured that out a long time before. People just thought that it wasn't possible to sail across the ocean to Asia because sailors would run out of food by then, while Columbus thought that wasn't the case because he thought Asia was bigger than contemporary estimates. He actually thought the diameter of Earth was much smaller than contemporary estimates, too. He was very wrong. The standard estimates were accurate, but he got lucky. Lemmings commit mass suicide. Perhaps the most influential and, for the lemmings involved, tragic presentation of the myth was the 1958 Disney film White Wilderness, which won an Academy Award for documentary feature and in which producers threw lemmings off a cliff to their deaths to fake footage of a mass suicide, as well as fake scenes of mass migration. 15. Humans are really bad at committing confirmation bias. Lemmings aren't running off of cliffs by themselves? Hurl them off rather than reconsider that detail. The white on blue roundel in the BMW logo represents the white blades of a propeller against the blue sky, alluding to BMW's history as a manufacturer of aircraft engines. This myth was popularized in BMW's advertising for aircraft engines and perpetuated by the movie Finding Forrester. In truth, the blue and white come from the Bavarian flag, presented as a circular coat of arms in reverse order to avoid a trademark law prohibiting the use of symbols of state sovereignty in a commercial trademark. It was only in later marketing for aircraft engines they overlaid the logo over spinning propellers, as coincidentally it could be taken to look like a propeller against the sky. They made all sorts of engines for land vehicles as well. I was adamantly told by some seniors at work not to drink the water that boiled twice because it cooks the oxygen out of it. What is with seniors and water that's being boiled twice? My grandmother used to say that it would make the water radioactive. I still can't wrap my head around the fact that a woman that had been a chemist her entire working life believed this. Though I've heard others who grew up in the Soviet Union, like my grandmother, echo this, so perhaps it's some silly propaganda that stuck. That you can reduce fat from a particular body part. Then why do I have a goddamn needle D? It's obviously because I work it out so much. Bulls hate red. They are actually colorblind and are reacting to the movement of the cloth and the a-hole behind it. You also gotta keep in mind those bulls are poorly treated and usually given some kind of stimulants. Bulls on our ranch are actually quite friendly as long as it's not breeding season. That shaving makes your beard grow better. When I was a teenager, a lot of people told me that shaving would make my beard grow faster. Well, I didn't want to shave any more than I absolutely had to, so I often went weeks at a time without shaving. It wasn't the best look for me. The myth: you can tell if a snake is venomous or not by the shape of its pupil slit for venomous, round for non-venomous. The truth: pupil shape has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not a snake has venom, and, if you're close enough to get a good look at a snake's pupils, you're probably close enough to get bit. The advice: if you cannot, from a safe distance, immediately identify a snake beyond a reasonable doubt, assume it's dangerous and behave accordingly, keep your distance, stay out of its direct path, and keep your eyes on it until one or the other of you leaves the area. That the US spent over $1 million in 2 years to develop a pen that could work in space, whereas the Soviets decided to just use a pencil. In the early days, both used pencils, but since pencils are made out of graphite, and graphite is conductive, snapped graphite particles are dangerous in a pressurized space capsule, to put it lightly. Fisher, the owner of the pen company, spent his own money to develop a pressurized ballpoint pen. And cost only about $3.00 per pen. Edit. I was wrong on the price, the pens first cost about $6 per pen for NASA. Edit 2. Did some digging on the grease pens. Apparently the thought was that they wouldn't be durable enough on paper, and the paper shroud of the grease pen would still need to be disposed of, and thought it might be a problem. Urine neutralizes jellyfish stings. Use vinegar instead. That stuff will actually save you, at least long enough for an ambulance to arrive. Gum takes 7 years to digest. No, that's if you eat people. People take 7 years to digest. That Marilyn Manson removed 2 of his ribs to blow himself. So you're telling me I didn't have to remove 2 of my ribs to be able to blow Marilyn Manson? Daddy long legs are actually the most poisonous spiders in the world, but don't have long enough fangs to bite you. That goldfish have a 6-second memory. I mean, it's still not great, I think like a couple months. But still. Get your fish a bigger damn tank. Edit. Thank you for the awards and upvotes. Very kind of you. Catherine the Great died after attempting to have sex with a horse. This myth was started by the French. And then they ask why everyone believes Napoleon was a tiny man. Undercover police have to tell you they are policemen when you ask them. Breaking Bad has a great scene where an undercover cop tricks a guy into selling him drugs using this myth. Scientists don't know how bees fly. That's because flies fly. Whereas bees bee. According to all known laws of aviation. That Mr. Rogers was a sniper and or had tattoos covering his arms. Both untrue. Fred Rogers lived a pretty mundane life and dedicated considerable time to creating television programming that didn't rot kids' brains. That we only use 10% of our brain. Edit. Thanks for the awards, all my first and the upvotes. Subtract 10 from how many I have, and that's the most I've ever gotten on a comment. My cousin had a roommate who thought this and tried to use 100% of his brain to run through a wall. Something about touching baby birds and their parents abandoning them due to the smell of human touch. Edit. After reading through several replies, perhaps there is some truth to this based on the animal. One time my son came home smelling like a bird and I told him to get the hell out and never come back. Your blood is blue when not oxygenated. Edit. Thank you all for my first awards. I never thought such a simple answer could have such an impact. This is one of those things that my wife knows, admits isn't true, but I think still has a really hard time believing it just because she believed it for so damn long. Every so often this topic comes up with my daughter and my wife is like, but isn't it? Oh yeah, right, it's not, and then she has this look in her eyes like truth is dead and beauty is a lie. Phlebotom is here. Blood is 2 shades of red. Dark red for venous blood and bright red for arterial blood, due to the arterial blood being oxygenated. Veins look blue through the skin due to how light penetrates the skin. You generally won't see arteries through the skin as they are deeper to keep us alive. They are under more pressure due to being pumped by the heart to provide oxygen-rich blood to the body. If you cut one femoral, brachial, carotid, you can bleed to death in minutes. That's why our bodies keep them protected. In all my years doing this job I have only seen one variation of color, and that was orange blood due to an active hepatitis C infection. Serum on the other hand can be green, milky or fluoro yellow. Edit. Thank you beautiful people for the questions and the lovely gesture of the Reddit awards. I'm happy to answer any more questions or offer advice on how to handle the anxiety of needle phobia and vasovagal response to blood collections. If I could ask anything of you, it would be, please donate blood and be kind to one another. that people in the Middle Ages only lived to 40 or something. There was a lot of child dead, thus lowering the average age. Living till 60, 70 years old wasn't strange. It was definitely more common to die early because of lack of medical care, but yeah, it's not like people dropped of old age at 40 or 50. People believe in the whole alpha and beta wolves thing. It's not true. The leaders of the pack are the parents. In natural wolf packs, the alpha male or female are merely the breeding animals, the parents of the pack, and dominance contests with other wolves are rare, if they exist at all. Yup. The guy who pioneered this theory spent the rest of his life or is spending the rest of his life trying to debunk this. The singer Kira is a man. She just popped out her third kid. This is still circulating. Are you possibly thinking of the singer Lord? I've heard compelling arguments that she's not a New Zealand pop singer, but actually a 45-year male geologist from a small town in Colorado. Knuckle cracking doesn't lead to arthritis, it's just an old wives' tale people use in place of simply telling you it's annoying them. Crack away. That the tongue has different regions for salty, sweet, bitter and sour. Why were we ever taught that? Organic crops don't use pesticides or herbicides. Holding B+ down increases your chances of catching a Pokemon. Basically any schoolyard Pokemon rumor. I wasted so many hours scouring the Seafoam Cavern looking for that stupid mist stone. That you can tell if someone is a virgin by looking at their hymen to see if it is intact. OMG, I recently remembered that in middle school and high school, we believed that you could tell someone wasn't a virgin if they had a thigh gap. A lot of people still believe a woman sued McDonald's because her coffee was hot. In reality, the woman had third-degree burns throughout her pelvic area and only asked that her medical bills be paid. It was like only $30k or something and McDonald's went nope, here is like $200. So she sued. They were selling illegally hot coffee without a proper warning. Then, McDonald's spread this lie to keep their good name. That historical armor was useless, or just something you wore so you had a slight chance to turn a death blow into merely a serious injury. Shows and movies still perpetuate this. Game of Thrones has acclaimed sword fights where guys casually shove swords through dudes in plate armor. Impossible. Metal is not cardboard. Even the most basic iron or bronze chainmail armor will be barely scratched by a slash from the sharpest katana. Well-made plate armor is impervious to all damage short of a blow from a specialized armor-piercing weapon, lance, poleaxe, etc. Even the earliest guns couldn't penetrate plate armor. Armor was incredibly expensive. Common people couldn't afford it, so made do without or, if lucky, with fabric armors that were still very effective protection. A suit of custom-made plate would have cost a knight the equivalent of a modern high-end luxury car. Why would people pay that much for something useless? Armor was very useful. That's why weapons continued to advance over the centuries and why armor did as well. It was an arms race. Bonus: the Dark Ages being a time of post-Roman decline is a myth. We weren't set back 1,000 years by the fall of Rome. Technology continued to advance throughout the following centuries. Some things quite astonishingly so. Debated. It was called the Dark Ages because the electric bill was in the Roman Empire's name, and when it collapsed the power got cut off. It took several hundred years to scrape up the money for the past due bill plus the reconnection fee. Also adding to the delay was the fact that people worked from dawn to dusk and there was no one to sit around all day waiting for the dude to come flip the switch. That MSG is very bad for health and anything with it is seen as unhealthy. That washing chicken gets rid of bacteria. No. Cooking chicken gets rid of bacteria, given that you do it well. Washing chicken, on the other hand, can contaminate your whole kitchen with salmonella. People wash chicken? The myth of how marginal tax rates work in America. Ever heard the tale from mom or pop that the more you make, the less you actually get because of tax brackets? Well, that's absolutely not the case and isn't how income tax works. The reason this misconception exists is because people think that your total income is taxed at the rate of each bracket, of which there are 7. 10% 0 to 9,875. 12% 9,876 to 40,125. 22% 40,126 to 85,525. 24% 85,526 to 163,300. 32% 163,301 to 207,350. 35% 207,351 to 518,400. 37% 518,401 or more. Notice how each bracket has a range, and for every bracket past the first it's $1 higher than the end range of the previous bracket? That's because only your earnings that fall within that range are taxed at that rate. First, I'm going to give a bad example using the misconception people have about marginal tax rates. If you made $85,525 this year MR moneybags, then you would be taxed at 22%, right? You barely fell into that bracket, but you made it. So your taxes are $18,815.50, correct? Well, what if you made just $1 more? Oh no, now you're in a new bracket that's 2% higher. So now you've been taxed $20,526.24, which is $1,710.74 more. That can't be right, can it? No. No, it isn't. You see, tax brackets are like cups. If you made $85,525 this year, that means you've filled the first 3 cups. Well, each cup's amount is taxed at the rate listed on it. So the first cup holds $9,875, which is taxed at 10%. Which gives us $987.50 in taxes so far. The next cup holds $30,249, which is $40,125 minus $9,876, and it's taxed at 12%. That gives us an additional $3,629.88 in taxes for a total of $4,617.38, right? The next cup holds $45,399 taxed at 22%, which gives us $9,987.78 and a new total tax payment of $14,605.16, which is over $4,000 less than our example using the misconceived method above. So now, what if you make just $1 more? That dollar, or a drop in the next cup, is taxed at 24%. So you lost a whopping 24 cents when you moved up to that bracket. That e-waste recycling is good for the environment. Much of it gets shipped overseas to be burned or dissolved in chemicals to extract the precious metals. The real way to help is to buy less. That whole "you eat 7 spiders a year" myth. It was created by some lady in the late 90s or early 2000s to prove that ridiculous things can be found on the internet, spread like wildfire, and believed by many. Edit, while this blew up. Thank you to all who clarified that it was Lisa Holt, a troll. Edit 2, maybe in the fact that this is older than the internet. Myths are weird. It's actually 7 in a lifetime. If you're on your deathbed and have only swallowed one, the other 6 will swarm your mouth at once. That hot chicks in my area wanna frig. They do, just not you apparently. Shaving hair causes it to grow back longer and thicker. If I remember right, shaved hair looks thicker because the ends are now blunted instead of being tapered. That diamonds are rare and therefore should be expensive. That is just a myth perpetrated by the D-Biz Diamond Cartel. Edit, while these are my first awards, thank you. That there are only 5 senses. The food pyramid. Edit, wow, thanks for the awards. My first gold. Edit 2. So many good comments. To answer and respond to many of them, check out the book Death by Food Pyramid. Sounds extreme, but the author has an entire chapter on how to better research and understand scientific documents reports. One of the best things I have read. So much bread. Sugarcane grows faster on sand. Maybe I'm a noob. It can be planted on something other than sand? The Bermuda Triangle. Turns out ships and planes disappear at the same rate all over the world's oceans. The mystery of how the pyramids were built. They know how they were built. Ramps, pulleys, ropes and labor. The ocean is scary as frick once you look into it. Rogue waves and such. The whole fan death thing in South Korea. An old myth claims you can stand an egg on its end during the vernal equinox, when day and night are equal in length. Like when people all stood their brooms up early this year. That breakfast is the most important meal of the day. That vaginas get loose the more X they have. They do not. I recently heard it was really just a misunderstanding of the truth. What actually happens is the penis slowly gets worn down to a smaller size, making the vagina seem bigger. This was accidentally discovered in a study where men who get laid, like, all the time, by the hottest bears were asked how big their penis is, then measuring it with a 3D laser array. The scientists found that the measurements were significantly smaller than what the men claimed, leading to the logical conclusion that having lots of sex with multiple women makes your penis smaller. That violent video games are linked to violent behavior, mass shootings, etc. Remember when Columbine was blamed on Marilyn Manson? I did the whole presentation in school on why this is complete bullshit. That the people in Johnstown used Kool-Aid to commit suicide. You hear the term drank the Kool-Aid for someone blindly following orders. It was actually Flavor Aid. I know it a dumb distinction. I'm sure it makes the Flavor Aid people happy. Edit. All my knowledge come from last podcast on the left. I'm not a professional. The Holocaust was mostly unknown until after the war and mostly took place in hidden away camps. The writings we have, letters and diaries, lets us know it was actually quite the common knowledge as soon as it started. We know another thing that is important, that is people who both have documented to be in the know would claim post-war they had no idea. Coping mechanism or whatever, but it's a thing. Also, a plurality of the victims of the Holocaust were in fact shot over open pits in the places they lived, not gassed. The industrialized murder in places like Auschwitz-Birkenau using Zyklon B started late. Before that, people were shot, asphyxiated with carbon monoxide at several sites or starved. I think it boils down to people wanting to believe the crimes were unknown and industrialized because they don't want to comprehend plenty of normal people are capable of accepting or carrying such terrible acts. But they are. We are. Carrots being good for your eyes. It was a myth created in World War II by the Allies to explain how their pilots got so good at shooting down enemy planes all of a sudden. The real reason was radar technology. A vitamin A deficiency absolutely causes night blindness. However, eating extra vitamin A won't give you superhuman vision. That I peed my pants in 11th grade. It was 12th grade. That Lucky Strike is named such because it used to be that one cigarette in every 20 packs is a joint, and if you found that joint, you were the lucky one. In reality, the name comes from striking it lucky as a gold prospector. This joint claim has been disproved. Antibiotics can cure virus infections. No, they don't. That soap destroys cast iron skillets. Soap used to have lye in it, which was used to break down human bodies and bones into dust. Now some mild Dawn dish soap won't do damage to a pan unless it soaks for a long time. People who like big butts can, in fact, still lie. The internet is a series of tubes. That corsets are a lethal torture item and every Victorian woman did tight lacing. The myth about harmful corsets was started by Victorian men in order to bring down women-owned businesses. And some feminists looking at you, Emma Watson, swallowed that lie, hook and sinker, thinking they are empowering somebody with it. The truth is, corsets are way better than bras. If you have back pains, which many women have because of their bras, switch to corsets. There is a reason why it was used that long. To add to this, well-made, well-fitted, worn-in corsets are better than bras. Wearing a cheap, ill-fitting corset for too long can potentially be pretty torturous to wear after a while. I wore a corset once and it made me faint, shifted my organs, got me pregnant, stole my purse, attacked my dog and murdered me. The China has never waged a war of aggression. Propaganda bullshit still lives on in some. Ask the folks of Tibet and Vietnam whether that's true. That GMOs are bad. I see that little no GMO tag on your packaging, food, and I see a stop sign. Sure, if I wanted less nutritious food that requires more pesticides and fertilizer and is therefore more expensive, I would buy that non-GMO food. But that would be dumb. Edit, a typo. The myth that if you work your A off during your college days, it's gonna be smooth sailing in your adult years. Nope. Vaccines cause autism. I don't even hear that much anymore. It has just evolved into, I'm not taking a vaccine, it's not natural. In a freaking pandemic, no less. Their fear stems from a doctor that made up a bullshit report that wasn't peer studied and was paid for by a special interest group. He had his medical license revoked. This one hit me personally and drives me absolutely crazy. That the seeds are the spiciest part of a hot pepper. The seeds are the only part of a pepper that isn't spicy. The white stuff near the seeds though, spice maximum. You have to wait 30 minutes to swim after eating. I think that's only to make sure kids don't throw up in the pool, since their food will be a bit digested by then. That you get to adulthood at 18 and you're going to magically know how to be an adult starting at 18. Edit, while this blew up while I was away doing the dishes. Hello my fellow adult children. We will figure this out along the way, I believe in all of us. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and leave a comment.